Hello, everyone. This is the 46th episode of the Soccernostalgia Talk Podcast. As always, this is Sean from Los Angeles, and I'm joined by Paul from Shipley in England. For this episode, we continue our interview series with Mr. Joško Čučuk as we discuss the Croatian national team matches for the 1994 and 95 season. We aim to have a series of interviews with Mr. Čučuk as we examine the Croatian national team matches through its glory years of the 1990s. Hello, Joško. Welcome back.
Hello, how are you?
Last time in our first interview, we covered events, football and political, from the end of the 80s through June 1994. We discussed the early matches of the new Croatian national team from 1990 and after the breakup into the end of the 1993-94 season. For this podcast, we start off at the fall of 1994, with Croatia for the first time being in the Euro qualifiers, with the finals to take place in England in 1996. At this point, while a relatively new team, Croatia boasted the talents of Zvonimir Boban, a recent Champions League winner with AC Milan, Alen Boksic, star at Lazio, and Davor Šuker, one of the top goal scorers in the Spanish league with Sevilla. For these 1996 Euro qualifiers, Croatia were grouped with Italy, Ukraine, Slovenia, Lithuania, and Estonia. As recent 1994 World Cup runner-ups, Italy were perhaps initially regarded as favorites. However, these qualifiers would signal the birth of a new team and a generation. The season starts with a friendly on August 17th, 1994. At Tel Aviv Ramat Gan National Stadium, with Croatia facing Israel in a friendly. And we should remind that the Croatia manager was Miroslav Blažević. For this match, the starting lineup for Croatia: Dražen Ladić of Croatia Zagreb, Dževad Turković of Croatia Zagreb, Robert Jarni, he had just joined Juventus from crosstown rivals Torino, Elvis Brajković of Rijeka, Zvonimir Soldo of Croatia Zagreb, Dubravko Pavlicic of Hercules Alicante in Spain. He'd be replaced by Samir Toplak of Vartex Varazdin in the 84th minute. Captaining the side, Zvonimir Boban of AC Milan in Italy, Mladen Mladenovic of Casino Salzburg in Austria. He'd be replaced by Sead Halilovic of Croatia Zagreb in the 46th minute. Aljosha Asanovic of Hajduk Split. He'd be replaced by Stipe Andrijasevic of Hajduk Split in the 65th minute. Nikola Jurcevic of Casino Salzburg in Austria. We should mention that Casino Salzburg were the recent UEFA Cup runner-ups the previous season, and this season they were in the Champions League in the same group as Ajax and AC Milan. So Nikola Jurcevic will be replaced by Miljenko Mumlek of Vartex Varazdin in the 70th minute. And finally, Igor Svitanovic of Croatia Zagreb. The match itself was a comfortable win for Croatia, 4-0. Svitanovic scored in the 2nd and the 34th minute. Jurcevic in the 52nd minute. And Mumlek in the 82nd minute. Boksic was missing, as was Šuker. But Croatia was more than strong enough to defeat Israel. And only other things of note is that this was Sead Halilovic's one and only cap. As far as Samir Toplak, this was his second and final cap, all in 1994. And Stipe Andrija Sevic. This was his final cap. It was his fifth cap and final cap. And his first cap had been in 1992. What do you remember from this match?
Well, first of all, I have to say that your Croatian is much better now. You're pronouncing each names much better than the last time. Well, this was a match we prepared for qualifications. So this was like mixed team. Few players from Croatian League. For example, this scorer, Miljan Komumlek from Varteks, he maybe had a few more caps, but he never had any important role. But he was a legend of Croatian football league. Also, Jurčević, when we mentioned Casino Salzburg, there was few Croatian players like Mužek, Jurčević, and Kocijan, I think. He also played, he had 1 or 2 caps for our national team earlier. He never played in these qualifications. And also later on, Croatian manager Otto Barić,
Yes.
He managed that team. So that was like Croatian success.
Yeah.
And this match, well, we didn't expect anything. Well, we expected the easy win, but we were preparing for Estonia, Lithuania, and especially Italy in next qualifications. So this was like, we just want to match the finish. And it was opportunity for Igor Cvitanović, who scored 2 goals. He was very important in Croatia Zagreb in those years, one of the best scorers in Croatian National League. But when you have Šuker and Bokšić in team, then it's hard to get opportunity in the first team.
Just out of curiosity, going into these qualifiers, what was the mood in Croatia as far as their chances? Did they think right off the bat that they most likely would have qualified from this group?
Well, we are very modest, so we expected that we will win the group. Well, honestly, we expected that Italy, which was, of course, in the finals a year before, that year, a few months before, with Brazil in that final in the United States. So we expected that they will probably win the group and that we will fight with Ukraine, which had a really good team. Most of the players in that last Soviet Union team was in Ukraine now, so we expected more from Ukraine and in those qualifications, which they didn't have success.
And we should mention this was the first expanded European Championships as well. This was the first time it had gone to 16 teams, so 2 would be qualifying from the groups as opposed to just the group winner. And definitely this group was quite interesting for the number of new nations appearing in it. A lot of unknown quantities there. I think that Italy must have been wondering exactly what to expect, I think, from some of those nations.
Yeah, you're right. That was the first. It had been decided that the Euros were going to be expanded to 16 teams, I think maybe a few years before. So the odds of the stronger teams qualifying was greater. So maybe there was less stress on those 2 top teams, knowing they could just do enough to qualify. But still, like you said, Slovenia and even Ukraine, those are unknown quantities and you couldn't take any chances. The first qualifier was on September 4th at Estonia at Tallinn's Kadrioru Stadion, with Croatia taking on Estonia. For this match, Miroslav Blažević selected the following squad: Dražen Ladić of Croatia Zagreb, Jevad Turković of Croatia Zagreb, Robert Jarni, Juventus in Italy, Nikola Jerkan of Real Oviedo in Spain, Igor Stimac of Hajduk Split, Aljosha Asanovic of Hajduk Split. He'd be replaced by Igor Svitanovic of Croatia Zagreb in the 88th minute, Slaven Bilic at Karlsruhe in Germany, Robert Prosinecki. He had just joined Real Oviedo in Spain that season. We kind of mentioned that he had a difficult time at Real Madrid and his stock had really fallen in terms of one of the brightest prospects in world football. I believe he was on loan. I don't know if he was transferred outright, but he joined Real Oviedo that season. That really benefited him. This one season at Real Oviedo, without the pressures of Real Madrid, he would have a good season. He'd eventually join Barcelona for the following season, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But this season was very beneficial for him. Then you have Davor Šuker of Sevilla in Spain, capping the side Zvonimir Boban of AC Milan, and Alen Boksic at Lazio in Italy. So this was the full-strength Croatian side with all the stars. Croatia won 2-0 with Davor Šuker scoring in the 45th and the 75th minute. The campaign started on a positive note. It was always expected to be a straightforward win, but what are your takeaways?
Well, I remember that we struggled a lot in that match. We couldn't score. We couldn't get opportunity. I remember I was in Split with my relatives, and we watched that match on TV, and it was small stadium with horrible pitch condition, and which was not very good for our players, who were slow and most of them tall and not that, and more technique players than fast players, which need perfect pitch to to show what they can. So we didn't have, I think, any opportunity till 35th minute when Boksic had a chance and miss, and after that we struggled again, and then Boksic assist to Šuker, and that was at the end of the first half. We finally scored, and after that in second half again it was struggling without any chances. Then Šuker again scored, and that was the end. But we were not very satisfied after the match. We expected that we would have easy job in Estonia, So
they did a minimum required and just glad to be out.
Yeah, exactly.
But right after this first match, you see the importance of Šuker, that he's the main goal-scoring force of Croatia, and he's shown it for a number of seasons in Spain with Maradona at Sevilla and now on his own. He's becoming one of the greatest sought-after strikers in Europe. Was he already nicknamed Šukerman around this time, or that was after?
That was still while he was in Osijek, I think. And so he moved from Osijek to Dinamo Zagreb and then to Sevilla later on. But I remember from his beginnings, that was one of his nicknames.
The next match, the next qualifier, was on October 9th, 1994, at home at Zagreb's Maksimir Stadion, with Croatia taking on Lithuania. For this match, Miroslav Blažević selected the following squad: Dražen Ladić of Croatia Zagreb, Nikola Đurčević of Casino Salzburg in Austria, Robert Jarni of Juventus in Italy, Igor Štimac of Hajduk Split. He'd be replaced by Elvis Brajković of Rijeka in the 89th minute, Nikola Jerkan of Real Oviedo in Spain, Slaven Bilic at Karlsruhe at Germany, Mladen Mladenovic of Casino Salzburg in Austria, Aljosha Asanovic of Hajduk Split, Davor Šuker of Sevilla in Spain, capping the side Zvonimir Boban at AC Milan in Italy, and Alen Boksic at Lazio in Italy. He replaced by Arjan Kozniku. At the time, he was playing at Cannes in France in the 79th minute. This match was a Croatian win. Again, they were held scoreless in the first half because I'm sure Lithuania parked the bus, as the new expression is. Croatia broke the deadlock in the 56th minute through Jerkan. Arjan Kozniku scored in the 80th minute, right after coming on. 2 matches, 2 wins, as expected. What do you think?
Well, this match we played much better. We had lots of chances, but we couldn't score a goal. So slowly, After first half 0-0, Lithuania had some good results in these qualifications. It was really hard to score a goal against them. They really parked the bus against almost any team. I think they beat Ukraine, or they had draw with Ukraine, which was shocking because we really expected that our biggest rival will be Ukraine, not Italy. Italy probably will win the group. After first half, we started to feel nervous. And then after one corner, I think Yerkan, which is defender, he scored the goal. And after that, it was pretty easy. They still had to park the bus at the back and waited. But then Kozniku, who didn't have lots of chances, Kozniku in first season of Croatian National League, he was the best scorer. And after that, he went to France, where he had really much success with Caen, and later on with Bastia, which was pretty good team in the 90s in France. So he's like legend of Bastia. And later on, he returned to Dinamo Zagreb. But like also Igor Cvitanovic, he didn't have lots of opportunities when you have Šuker and Bokšić up front. If Bokšić is not injured, which is rarely, then you don't have a spot for players like that. So it was very rare that he's playing, and he used that opportunity and scored a goal. So at the end, it was an easy win, but not that easy after the first half.
I also want to point out, I mean, we discussed this last time, but whenever you hear us say Croatia Zagreb, we're talking about Dinamo Zagreb, and the team went through many name changes around this time, and we discussed this, but just so anyone listening, that Croatia Zagreb is Dinamo Zagreb, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They changed the name in 91. It was Haško Građanski, which was only for 1.5 years. Then in the middle of the season of 92-93, they changed the name in Croatia Zagreb, and it stayed till 2000. I think in 2000 they changed the name again in Dinamo Zagreb.
We come to the big match of the season on November 16th, 1994, at Palermo, at Stadio La Favorita. Italy hosting Croatia in what would look like the two main teams in the group facing each other, with Italy perceived to be favorites because they were playing at home. For this match, Miroslav Blažević actually did not sit on the bench. In his stead, the legendary manager Tomislav Ivić managed the team. Was it for medical reasons Blažević couldn't be in this match?
At that time, Blažević was in prison.
Oh, really? Oh, yes. Please tell.
If you remember, he was in France in late 80s. And
yes, at Nantes, yes.
Exactly. And in 1989, there was a match between Nantes and Olympique Marseille, which was suspicious. It was 0-0, and there was a trial about that match, and he was in prison for 17 days, I think. And that was exactly when we had this match with Italy. And then Tomislav Ivić, who is, for me, the best Croatian manager of all times, and he's even on the list of 50 greatest ever football managers of French football, had that list in, I don't know, like 90s. So he was on 42nd place. And he managed really lots of teams, and he won, in 6 or 7 different nations, he won titles, or at least cup. It was he managed Ajax after Hajduk Split. So in Yugoslavia, he was a champion. With Ajax, he was champion of Netherlands. Then he moved
Anderlecht, Paris Saint-Germain, Olympique Marseille, Atletico Madrid. Yeah, he managed lots of places. Yeah.
Porto after they won the championship, the Champions League, Champions Cup. So next year he managed Porto also. In Spain, he won something in France also, and cup in Greece. So he was the best for.
Yes.
So if you're a Hajduk Split supporter, he's a legend of Hajduk Split, then we were very happy that we have him on our national team bench. And we hope that he will stay longer. So there was always, in next years, there was always discussion who managed the tactic for that match, Blažević or Ivić. And Ivic was, in those years, Ivic was director of our national team. So he just replaced Blažević for that match. Next match, Blažević came back on the bench.
Let's go through the Croatian lineup. Dražen Ladić of Croatia Zagreb, Elvis Brajković of Rijeka, Robert Jarni of Juventus in Italy, Igor Stimac, Hajduk Split, Nikola Jerkan, Real Oviedo in Spain, Slaven Bilic, Karlsruhe in Germany, Aljosha Asanovic, Hajduk Split, Robert Prosinecki, Real Oviedo in Spain. He replaced by Mladen Mladenovic of Casino Salzburg in the 59th minute, Davor Šuker of Sevilla in Spain, captaining the side Zvonimir Boban of AC Milan, playing against some of his teammates, and Nikola Jurcevic of Casino Salzburg. He'd be replaced by Adrian Kozniku of Cannes in the 90th minute. And let's go through the Italian lineup. You have Gianluca Pagliuca of Inter, Paolo Negro of Lazio, Christian Panucci of AC Milan, Alessandro Costacurta of AC Milan, capping the side Paolo Maldini of AC Milan, Dimitrio Albertini of AC Milan. He replaced by Roberto Di Matteo of Lazio in the 55th minute, Attilio Lombardo of Sampdoria, Dino Baggio of Parma, Roberto Baggio of Juventus, Pierluigi Casiraghi of Lazio, Roberto Rambaudi of Lazio, and he replaced by Roberto Donadoni of AC Milan in the 46th minute. Croatia were without Boksic. I presume he was injured.
Yeah, of course, like always.
But still a good side. They surprisingly took the lead in the 32nd minute by Davor Šuker. Šuker would double the lead in the 60th minute, and Italy would only pull a goal back in the last minute through Dino Baggio. In Italy, this was portrayed as a wake-up call for the national team that they have to reckon with Croatia and they have to get their act together if they have hopes of qualifying. Italian manager Arrigo Sacchi, he was already much criticized after not winning the World Cup final in 1994. And this was just one more thing that was held against him for not getting the tactics right and so forth. After this match, I think if anyone had any doubts, this was the proof that Croatia were a good team and had to be taken seriously. I remember there was a lot of buzz about Croatia after this match.
Yeah, exactly. After we beat Spain, we talked about that in our last podcast, like Europe found out about us, let's say it like that. Then we had a good result against Argentina, but this was a first real match, so it wasn't a friendly, it was for points. We didn't expect that we will beat Italy, of course. We hope that we manage to get a tie or something, but it started really good, and we attacked them, which probably they didn't expect. And Ivic always had he asked very big discipline of all of the players. We played with two strikers. So Jurcevic, who played as wing-back most of his career in our national team, he played up front with Šuker since Boksic was injured. And we played, I think, with Brajković on that right wing-back position, who was defender officially. So we really surprised Italy, scored relatively, well, not early, but in perfect time near the end of the first half. So they were shocked. And then at the beginning of second half, almost at the beginning of second half, we scored another one. And then the crowd was on our side till the end of the match. So I remember that they booed the Italy team. And at the end, I think it was Baggio combination. Roberto had a cross from corner, and and Dino Baja scored with the header at the end of the match. So it was a big celebration in Croatia. We really didn't expect another 3 points and that we will start qualifications that good like we did.
Paul, I was going to ask, we always kind of discuss this, how football outside of Britain was not covered as much. But after this match, was there any buzz that you remember in English press about Croatia?
Yeah, this was definitely the game, like Joško was saying, that made people realise that Croatia had a really, really strong team. I think some of the early results had been noticed, and definitely now we're into the earlier years of the Premier League, although not as many players are coming in as would do later on, including a lot of these Croatian players. But there was a bit more awareness, I think, of certainly European football and football outside the UK, and this was definitely the result that brought Croatia and probably Šuker as well to wider attention. And obviously with the finals being in England, maybe the qualification was followed a little bit more closely than it had been previously as well. So yeah, I remember this result and realising that there was going to be a really strong team that hadn't competed at that level before.
That was the end of the calendar year, and there would be about 5 months break before Croatia would play again. The next qualifier was on March 25th, 1995, at home at Zagreb's Maksimir Stadion. For this match, they faced Ukraine. We have to mention that this was kind of the early stages of Ukraine. They became a stronger force, perhaps towards the end of the decade into the next decade. In these early qualifiers, they would just miss out. In fact, Croatia eliminated them from the 1998 World Cup qualifiers in a playoff. So they were thereabouts, but not yet perhaps good enough to easily qualify for a tournament. At this point, I think Shevchenko was like a teenager. I think he would have been 18, 19 years old, but he was still part of the team. For this match on March 25th, with Miroslav Blažević back now at the helm, he selected the following squad: Dražen Ladić of Croatia Zagreb, Nikola Jurčević of Casino Salzburg. He'd be replaced by Goran Vlahović. He was at Padova in Italy this season in the 79th minute. Robert Jarni of Juventus, Dubravko Pavlicic of Hercules Alicante in Spain, Nikola Yerkan of Real Oviedo, Slaven Bilic of Karlsruhe in Germany, Aljosha Asanovic of Hajduk Split, Robert Prosinecki of Real Oviedo in Spain, Davor Šuker of Sevilla in Spain, captaining the side Zvonimir Boban of AC Milan, and Alen Boksic of Lazio, and he replaced by Jeva Turkovic of Croatia Zagreb in the 60th minute. And quickly going through the Ukraine lineup, managed by Anatoly Konkov, you have Dmitro Tyapushkin of Spartak Moscow of Russia, Oleg Luzhny of Dynamo Kiev, future Arsenal player, Serhiy Shmatovalenko of Dynamo Kiev, Serhei Mizin of Dynamo Kiev, Andrei Telesnenko of Chornomorets Odessa, Yuri Martyonov of Zirka Nibas Kirovohrad, and he replaced by Gennady Orbu of Shakhtar Donetsk in the 46th minute. Yuri Bukel of Chornomorets Odessa, Yuri Khalidvintsev of Dynamo Kiev, young Andrei Shevchenko, we mentioned, of Dynamo Kiev, Viktor Leonenko of Dynamo Kiev, and Sergei Konovalov of Dynamo Kiev. So not many recognizable names, a lot of young players making their way through. Obviously, the backbone is Dynamo Kiev, as it seems like it always was. Not a strong side yet. Croatia would win this match with a score of 4-0. Boban would open the scoring in the 3rd minute. Davor Šuker would score in the 21st and 76th. And Prosinecki would round out the scoring. So a comfortable win for Croatia. They seem set on their way to qualify at this point. What are your thoughts?
Well, after the 1994, so in 1994 we were proclaimed like best mover of that year on FIFA rankings. So we moved from 125th place to 72nd place. And after we beat Italy and started qualifications with 3 wins, the only thing which we were thinking about was, will we play in the finals against Germany or against Netherlands in the European Championship? So that's how we started the next year. We expected that we will have easy win, and we had easy win. And after that, especially, you will see what will happen next in next match. Because
just one correction I want to make. I said that Šuker scored in the 21st and 76th minute. He actually scored in the 21st and 84th minute. It was Prosinecki that scored in the 76th minute. So my apologies.
71st minute from the penalty, and Šuker scored in 79th minute.
Prosinecki did score from a penalty kick. That's true.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. At this point, Croatia, this was their 4th match and 4th win. They were heading the group. Just a few days later, I think this was probably the first qualifiers where you have these international dates where you play a couple of matches within days. So on March 29th, just 4 days later, they faced Lithuania at Vilnius at the Žalgirio Stadionas. So for this match, Blažević selected the following squad: Dražen Ladić of Croatia Zagreb, Dubravko Pavlicic of Hercules Alicante in Spain. He'd be replaced by Mladen Mladenovic of Casino Salzburg in the 46th minute, Robert Jarni of Juventus in Italy, Igor Stimac of Hajduk Split, Zvonimir Soldo of Croatia Zagreb, Slaven Bilic of Karlsruhe, Aljosha Asanovic of Hajduk Split, Robert Prosinecki of Real Oviedo in Spain, Davor Šuker of Sevilla in Spain, Alen Boksic of Lazio in Italy, and Elvis Brajkovic of Rijeka. You have Boban missing from this match. A couple of new players you see into the lineup, Brajkovic and Soldo. Croatia came away with a scoreless tie that I'm sure must have looked disappointing after all the wins.
Yeah, it was very disappointing. We expected that we will win easily after all of these wins, 4 wins at the beginning. After we beat Italy, we are just like that, you know. If it's going good, then we are the best in the world. And we are expecting that we don't need, that we just have to enter the pitch and we will win. If it's not going good, then we are dangerous. But especially we lost lots of points in next qualifications during the years in situations like this. When we start good, then suddenly we lose points somewhere where we shouldn't. So that was a horrible match. We struggled. I think we didn't have any real opportunity all match. So it was just 0-0 from nothing from the beginning till the end. You know.
Was Boban injured for this match?
I think he was injured in Palermo, so that's why he. After that, no, he played against Ukraine, but he had some injury which in that season he didn't play a lot. I think for AC Milan, so he had some injuries which I think he needed some surgery or something, and at the end of the year he went to the surgery, because this is a season 94-95 when he had like 20 matches for not more, for AC Milan. So probably it was like 2 matches near, and then he played against Ukraine, but he didn't play against Lithuania because we expected that we will win easily.
Now we come to the matches where Croatia would have problems with its goalkeepers. The next qualifier was on April 26th, 1995, at Zagreb's Maksimir Stadion. Croatia taking on Slovenia. For this match, Blažević selected the following squad: Dražan Ladić of Croatia Zagreb in goal. He would be sent off in the 13th minute of this match. Croatia already playing with a man down early on. Nikola Jurčević of Casino Salzburg. He would have to be replaced by backup goalkeeper Tonči Gabrić of Hajduk Split. So then you have Robert Jarni of Juventus in Italy, Igor Stimac of Hajduk Split, Nikola Jerkan of Real Oviedo in Spain, Slaven Bilic of Karlsruhe in Germany, Aljosha Asanovic of Hajduk Split, Robert Prosinecki of Real Oviedo in Spain, captaining the side Zvonimir Boban of AC Milan in Italy, Davor Šuker of Sevilla in Spain. He'd be replaced by Dubravko Pavlicic of the Hercules Alicante in Spain in the 88th minute, and Alen Boksic of Lazio of Italy. Going through the Slovenia squad managed by Zdenko Verdenik, you have Bosko Boskovic of Antalyaspor in Turkey, Marinko Galic of Maribor Branik, Robert Englaro of Olimpia Ljubljana, captaining the side Darko Milanic of Sturm Graz in Austria. He's replaced by Stefan Skaper of Beltinci in the 89th minute, Peter Binkowski of Maribor Branik, Alfred Yermanis of Rapid Vienna in Austria, Johnny Novak of Olimpia Ljubljana, Gregor Zidan of Maribor Branik, Zlatko Zahovic, future Porto and Valencia star, playing at Vitória Guimarães in Portugal. He replaced by Vladimir Kokol of Mura Murska Sobota in 71st minute, and Matjas Floriancic of Cremonese in Italy, and Primoz Gliha of Železnikar Oskar Ljubljana. And Slovenia would also have a player sent off. Zidane would be sent off in the 86th minute. Despite having a man down early on, Croatia actually scored like a few minutes after that. In the 17th minute, Robert Prosinecki gave Croatia the lead. Obviously, with one man down, they kind of struggled to hold on to this lead. They would only score the second goal in the 90th minute through Šuker after Zidane had been sent off. This was a difficult win with the sending off so early on.
Yeah, it was a very difficult win. So we lost the goalkeeper at the beginning. Then Prosinecki scored, I think, from a free kick, maybe some 20-25 meters from the goal. And after that, Slovenia had really lots of chances. Primož Gliha had, I think, 3 clear opportunities for a goal. He missed. Luckily, later on in next qualifications, he will score against Croatia. Hat-trick in Split. But luckily, this match, he was not in a good shape. And like you saw, Slovenia had some really good names, which later on, when they qualified for that Euro 2000 and next World Cup 2002, they were still in that Slovenian team. Like Zahovic, I'm not sure, was Floriancic also there. But Novak, Galic, all of them played that Slovenian team. So they were pretty good. Although we expected that, we won't have any problems with Slovenia. Slovenians are a skiing nation, not football nation. So we expected an easy win, but after that red card at the beginning, it was pretty hard, and honestly, Slovenia had to win that match. They really had lots of opportunities.
So now we have 5 matches and 4 wins. And again, Croatia looks likely to qualify. We come to the very end of the season. On June 11th, 1995, Ukraine would host Croatia for qualifiers at Kiev's. Croatia had won comfortably, so maybe perhaps they thought this would be a relatively comfortable win. But let's not forget, they had to do without the starting goalkeeper who was suspended for this match, Drazen Ladic. We would have another goalkeeper sent off for this match. For this match, Miroslav Blažević selected the following squad. This time, Tonči Gabrić of Hajduk Split started in goal, but he'd be sent off in the 28th minute. For that, you had to have another substitution. Dubravko Pavlicic of Hercules Alicante in Spain had to make way for substitute goalkeeper Marian Mrmic of Vartex Varazdan in the 30th minute. Then you have Robert Jarni of Juventus, Zvonimir Soldo of Croatia Zagreb, Nikolaj Yerkan of Real Oviedo in Spain, Slaven Bilic of Karlsruhe in Germany, Alyosha Asanovic of Hajduk Split. He'd be replaced by Nenad Praliha of Hajduk Split in the 47th minute, Mladen Mladenovic of Casino Salzburg in Austria, Davor Šuker of Sevilla in Spain, captaining the side Zvonimir Boban of AC Milan. He'd be replaced by Darko Butorovic of Hajduk Split in the 38th minute. I'm assuming he was injured. And Alen Boksic of Lazio in Italy. Quickly going through the Ukraine lineup, managed by Anatoly Konkov. You have Ole Suslov of Chernomorets Odessa, Ihor Zhabchenko of Chernomorets Odessa, Viktor Skripnik of Dnipropetrovsk, Alexander Olovko of Tavria Simferopol, Yuri Maximov of Dynamo Kiev, Hennady Orbu of Shakhtar Donetsk, Yevgeny Poklebayev of Dynamo Kiev, Vladimir Gorily of Dnipropetrovsk, Yuri Khalidvintsev of Dynamo Kiev, Alexander Palyanitsa of Dnipropetrovsk. He'll be replaced by Serhiy Nahornyak of Nia Vinica in the 77th minute, Timerlan Husseinov of Chernomorets Odessa, and he'll be replaced by Pavlo Shkapenko of Dynamo Kiev in the 46th minute. So Ukraine would take the lead in the 13th minute through Khalidvintsev and hold on to the win. Even so, at this point, Croatia seemed likely to be one of the qualifiers, but perhaps this was a wake-up call as well for Croatia. The goalkeeping situation showed that they could not get away with this kind of mistakes. What was the consensus in Croatia after this match?
Well, before the match, all of that season, we had like discussion in newspapers who had to be first goalkeeper for Croatia, because Gabric, this goalkeeper who played from the beginning of this match, he played for Hajduk Split. Hajduk Split had a really good season in Champions League, and he was doing wonders in the group, especially in the group of Champions League, which was pretty tough with Benfica, Anderlecht, and Steaua. So we were very happy that finally Ladic won't be the first, because he had a red card from the match before. So that finally Gabric will get opportunity, and we expected that he will stay on the goal later on. But unfortunately, it wasn't his mistake. It was a mistake of defense, where I think Khalidvintsev, also the scorer, the goal was left and he was going one-on-one on our goalkeeper, and he he went outside of the box, and that was a red card. So, and then we had Mrmic. Mrmic was also a good goalkeeper in Varteks Varaždin in Croatian League. Not that young, but we had really good goalkeepers in those years. Let's say 3 equal goalkeepers. So he had a good job on that match. So till the end of the match, they didn't score any goals, but also we didn't score any goal. And if I remember correctly, I think we didn't have any real opportunities. So it was a real wake-up call after that match, which maybe put us on the ground, and we had to start from the beginning.
And we should mention that for Mrmic, Praliha, and Buturovic, these were their very first caps for Croatia. Now, I guess we can look back at the season, and obviously it's a very positive season. Even given this last final match, there's nothing to take away from Croatia's performances. We mentioned that they seem set to qualify, and they would. One thing that stands out for me is how Blažević, he basically has a set squad, more or less the same players. He would maintain this group throughout the season. And obviously, it's hard to see any player dislodging Boban, Boksic, Šuker at their height. But even the others like Jerkan, Bilic, Asanovic, all those Jarni, all those players are integral parts of the group and would remain so. For someone like Jarni, he won the Scudetto that season for Juventus. You mentioned the Hajduk Split players had a very good season in the Champions League. Šuker just continued scoring that season.
In Sevilla.
Boban, like you said, with injuries, and Milan had somewhat of a difficult season, but they nevertheless reached the Champions League final. And again, Boban was an integral part of this team by this point. All the players seem to be key players for their clubs. This group would grow and become better by 98. And also, let's not forget the 96 Euros as well. So a good group is emerging, and Blažević is creating a core of a team that would remain together. Not too many young players coming through, it seems like, as a result, because he's maintaining a group.
Yeah, exactly. So we had really good 11 players. And if you stop a kid on the street and ask him who is in the first team of Croatian National Team, they would know. So you knew who will play. But 12th and 13th and 14th player, they were the same quality. So we had a really good first team, but if we have some injury problems like we had with Boksic and Boban during the years, and Krasinecki also, not this year, but in some of the next years, then we would have problems. But you can see that this team in these qualifications, it's pretty much the same team like that one in 98. Although I would say that we had better team in 96 and that we played better football in 96 on that Euro, but we'll talk about that some other time. So the main difference is libero, or the last guy in defense, which was Nikola Jerkan. At this point, later on in 98, it was Štimac who played on the left side of defense for these qualifications, and you had young Dario Šimić on his place. And the right wing back was Jurčević, who was striker. So he played. We had really great, maybe world-class player like Jarni on that position on the left side, but we had problems on the right side. So we had Jurčević through those qualifications, and later on in 98 and in those years, in those qualifications, was Mario Stanić. So it was pretty much the same team. In all those 4 years, you knew 11 players.
Robert Jarni, I think he would join with Betis the following season. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like we discussed, Prosinecki, this season really helped to revitalize his career. He would join Barcelona for the following seasons, but would not have a good spell there. And mid-season would join Sevilla. It's hard for a lot of people to visualize just how hyped Prosinecki was. In the summer of 91, after Red Star had won the Champions Cup, I should say, sorry, at the time, he was the most sought after player in Europe, like akin to like a Cristiano Ronaldo of the day. And AC Milan, Real Madrid, everyone was trying to sign him. His spell at Real Madrid was disrupted by injuries, and some people also claim because of a lot of the stress from the situation in Croatia with the war and everything affected him. And he was never really the same player after that, even though he did kind of rebuild his career, but he was never really regarded through the same lens afterwards. So at this point, how is he regarded in Croatia at this 95?
Well, he was one of, let's say, 3 or 4 star players with Boban, Asanovic, and Šuker and Bokšić. So those would be 5 really big stars in our national team. We were complaining a little bit how long he's rolling the ball, and if you pass to him, then it will take few minutes until he roll one player, second player, third player, and then he will pass the ball. So that was something which was discussion here. Should he play in the first team? But he was he was one of the favorite players in Croatia of all times. Even later on, we had Modric. Even more success in the World Cup.
What do you think, Paul, about this season?
Yeah, I think one of the things he touched on is the squad and the continuity that goes right through as well. But it's also the system, I think, as well. It seems to be the perfect system for this set of players, that you've got the wing backs to take advantage of Jani in particular, and a very creative midfield. Maybe not the fastest players, Asanovic, Prosinecki and Boban, but the system obviously really helped them and let them do what they were really good at. And Šuker and Bokšić, Šuker in particular, one of the best strikers in Europe. So it seemed to be the perfect system, and they were able to basically keep that together for several seasons, which really helped as well. And this is the first time I think that a wider audience is seeing the potential of this team as well, 94, 95.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That was a really perfect system because, to be honest, we are not very fast nation. So we never had some fast players. Maybe Olic would be the only one. Or now we have few fast players. But so we had 3 at the back, very tall and very strong players. One of them would be a little bit closer to the goalkeeper. It was Jerkan in those years. So he played like libero, and during the attack he would go in front, so join to the middle field. We had fast players on the wings, so Jarni, and on the other side Jurčević, who played through all of the line, so they would hold all pitch on their sides. In the middle we had technically really perfect team with Boban. Boban played, although Boban was like fantasista or number 10 or a very attacking player in Croatia. In those years he played like defensive midfielder, something like Pirlo later on, although he would go in up front also, so not that much at the back, but still he would be the last one. And Asanovic and especially Prosinecki had like more freedom. So let's say that he sacrificed himself for the team. And up front we had Šuker who could score a goal from anything, and very strong and fast Bokšić. So that was
touching up on the continuity theme. It's amazing that, whenever we do these things, we always kind of point out like how many new caps were there for match to match. For this season, I think there were only 3 new caps in the very last match of the season. So it just shows that it was a settled squad. And even those first caps were through circumstances because of sending off, etc., etc. It just shows what a stable squad it was and hard to break through. But like you said, the disadvantage is that there's not much depth as well.
It wasn't.
Kind of going back, you mentioned when Tomislav Ivic had that interim match with Italy, the press was overjoyed, and I'm assuming the public. Was there, after maybe a press campaign to get him to be the main manager, or was Blažević fully trusted by the public and the federation?
Well, Blažević was fully trusted by our president, Franjo Tudjman. He was like his home friend, you know.
Okay.
They hang around a lot. So Ivic never got the opportunity to manage Croatian national team, unfortunately. Later on, he had some heart problems, and he unfortunately died in 2011, I think. But he never got the opportunity to manage our team. And Blažević was, well, there wasn't in press, there wasn't really like...
press campaign to...
Yeah, press campaign to change Blažević.
To be fair to him, he was doing a good job, as with the wins and everything.
Yes, and Ivic had his position. He was director of our national team, so maybe he didn't have any interest in taking the manager position. I think in those years he already started to be sports director of Olympique Marseille. He was not on the pitch. Later on, he returned on the pitch.
Right, yeah. All in all, a very good season for the national team, and it would only get better for this generation. We'll examine those seasons as ever closely as we can. Any final thoughts on this season from you guys?
Well, this was, except of our national team, this was the best season in our club football till today, because we had, in the season before, Hajduk Split became champion of Croatia, and that was the first year when we entered the UEFA competitions. So they played qualifications for Champions League. While Dinamo Zagreb with Blažević, also who was the manager of our national team, he managed Croatia or Dinamo. So they lost against Auxerre, and after that there was some problems in the crowd in Auxerre, and Croatia was dropped from Europe for 1 or 2 years. I can't remember now. Yeah. After those problems with Croatia fans. And Hajduk had excellent season. At the beginning of the season, they returned some star players like Aljoša Asanović. If you remember Zoran Volić, who played for Yugoslavia in the World Cup 1990, a year before he returned to Hajduk Split. Then Stipe Andrijašević, who played for this Croatian national team. Igor Štimac, Goran Vučević returned from Barcelona on loan. Tonči Gabrić, also this goalkeeper who played against Ukraine. He returned to Hajduk, and there was a few players which later on will play for our national team, like Milan Rapajić, Ivica Mornar, Tomislav Erceg, Mirsad Hidić, who played for Bosnian national team in the next few years. He played for Atletico Madrid and Sevilla in Spain. A really good defender. So Hajduk had a really good team in qualifications for Champions League. They beat Poland team Legia, and in the group they finished second after. In that time still, although these qualifications were 3 points for a win, Champions League was 2 points for a win.
Oh
still.
Yes. Oh yes, that was the first season.
Next season was the first with
right.
Points,
yeah.
So they finished second behind Benfica. So it was Benfica, Hajduk Split, Anderlecht, and Steaua. And after that, we lost. We played 0-0 with Ajax, that great Ajax team. For me, the favorite football team ever.
Oh yeah, Van Gaal's Ajax, yes.
Oh, it's Ajax, exactly.
Yeah.
They played 0-0, and then they lost 3-0 in Amsterdam. They crushed us.
Right.
Really perfect.
Yeah. Also, this was the first season that Croatia was involved, I guess, without the backdrop of the civil war, right? This was the first season that Croatia and all those teams were part of the full European calendar with Champions League and international matches, etc.
Although there was some problems for next season, because we had one military action where we returned some parts of our territory in the summer of 95. And after that, for example, for the next year, qualifications of Champions League, Hajduk couldn't play in Split against Panathinaikos, who played semifinals next year. They lost, it was 0-0 in Athens and then 1-1 in Rijeka. They played home match in Rijeka. And also that match against Italy, with Italy.
Oh, yes. In October, yeah.
We almost played that in Vienna or in Ljubljana because of that. October, and there was some negotiations, will we play at home or somewhere.
Right. So much to discuss for the following season.
Yeah.
Once again, I would like to thank Mr. Čučuk for his participation in this series. As always, feel free to leave questions and comments. You may contact me on my blog and on Facebook under Soccer Nostalgia. On Twitter, I'm at SP1873. Mr. Paul Whittle can be contacted on his blog, The 1888 Letter, or on Twitter at 1888 Letter. You may also follow the podcast on Spotify under Soccer Nostalgia Talk Podcast. Mr. Čučuk's contact info, his email is listed on the blog and Spotify uploads. Joško, thank you once again. Hope to continue the discussion for the following season.
No, it was my pleasure and looking forward for the next podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joško. Looking forward to next time.